Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, welcome back. We are here with another episode of White Sox and BS. Flying solo today without my main man, Harry. I'm going to be looking forward to politicking with my mans on the next show after this one. But for today, on a solo mission, your favorite host, JJ3, is back in the building for you. And we're here to recap the Chicago White Sox, the one and only team in the city of Chicago. Following last week's episode, we discussed the White Sox West Coast road trip. We talked about expectations going forward from that road trip, what we thought they would do against the San Francisco Giants, what we wanted them to do against the Minnesota Twins, Detroit Tigers going forward. And so let's break that down right now. The San Francisco Giants last week, myself and Harry, we both predicted the White Sox to win that series. Unfortunately, the Sox did not quite live up to predictions and expectations. And sadly, they lost that series 1-2. Give credit to the Giants. They had some huge at-bats, major at-bats, quite frankly. Back-to-back grand slams in back-to-back nights to beat the White Sox, to put up some really big numbers and some cricket scores on the board. So kudos to them. Unfortunately, things did not go the White Sox way. Sox finished their West Coast road trip on a bit of a lull, on a bit of a slump. And who do you have waiting for you when you come back to the south side of Chicago? Those Minnesota Twins, those damn Twins that Ozzie Guillen once upon a time called the Piranhas, waiting for us on the south side in the city of Chicago. Myself and Harry both predicted the White Sox to win this series. We said it was important. We said it was needed for the division standings and where you want to be and where you hope that this season, which is becoming a surprising season for the White Sox, where you hope this series could go and where it could progress going forward for you in the future. This was a pivotal series for the White Sox to not only continue to stand where they're at currently, in terms of their record, in terms of where they want to be and who's ahead of them in the standings in the AL Central, and to also, of course, keep the teams that are behind you in the AL Central at bay, as the Chicago White Sox are currently in second place in the division behind Cleveland. So you have to take care of business against the Minnesota Twins, right? And what did the White Sox do? They did exactly what Harry and myself predicted. They went out, took 3 or 4 games at home in this homestand against Minnesota, and they took care of the business that you wanted them to take care of. First game of the series, White Sox win 3-1. Second game of the series, we had a little bit of a problem, little bit of a hiccup where it looked like we had them, but we wanted them, right? So the White Sox are going out there, they're playing that game, and they aren't getting any runs on the board. They're struggling. Pretty sure that game, Minnesota put 2 runs on the board early in the first inning, and the White Sox were blank pretty much the entirety of that game into the 8th inning, where they scraped. And shout out to the Japanese homies that stepped up to the plate, literally and physically stepped up to the plate and got some runs on the board for you, right? The unsung hero that the White Sox just called up, Nishida, comes out in the game, gets a single, gets himself on board, and who is coming up next at bat to hit Taka Murakami? Shout out to Mune. He goes out there, hits a 2-run bomb, ties up the game, 2 runs apiece. You're headed into the 9th inning. You think you got a chance for the White Sox. You don't quite get the job done. You end up going into extras. And unfortunately for the White Sox, you go down 5-3 in the 11th inning. You cannot come away with that game to close that deal, which would have been a great win for the White Sox as well, to continue with what they've done with their come from behind stories this entire season, with their ability to continue to fight, continue to give good effort, continue to be professionals, be grinders, and continue to work with that never give up attitude. You love to see that from your sports teams. We saw with the Chicago Bears. You're seeing it here with the Chicago White Sox, in that they don't just lay down and give up. They find ways to continue to put runs on the board and continue to give themselves a chance to win. Didn't work out for them in that one. But what happened the next night, being last night? Domination. Utter domination. If the White Sox went out there, won that game against Minnesota 15-2. Look, you went out there, scored 2 touchdowns in the baseball game. Chances are you're going to come up with a W. That's what they did. And then today in the series finale, the White Sox went out there once again. Davis Martin on the mound. When Davis Martin goes out there and pitch, more times than not, the White Sox are going to win that baseball game. And that's exactly what happened. 6-2, White Sox go out there again, put up another cricket number on the board. You do more than enough that you need to win and support Davis Martin. You win the series against the Minnesota Twins, 3-1. That's what we're talking about. That's what we want to see. That's what we're hoping and expecting. And listen, again, I mentioned his name already, right? Munetaka Murakami. Minnesota didn't know what to do with him, right? They didn't really have any answers for him. He homered in 3 straight games of the series. Home run, home run, home run. They had no answers for Murakami whatsoever, right? He didn't home run a day, but he continued to hit the ball hard, continued to get walks, continued to get on base. Again, they really struggled to get him out. I mean, even though they got some strikeouts on him, he was on base the entire series, right? He was a high quality performer for the White Sox in this series against Minnesota. There wasn't much they could do with him. And quite frankly, Mooney's been delivering all season long. I mean, a lot of teams are finding out this guy is actually a damn good baseball player, and teams are going to have to beware and expect a lot from Munetaka Murakami. But he's not the only one for the White Sox that is, producing and performing, right? The Miguel Vargases of the world, the Chase Mydrops, Coastal Montgomery's, who had a bit of a slump, but is once again coming out of it and producing and helping contribute towards this team's success. So you got to appreciate and value what the White Sox are doing for you. If you're a White Sox fan, this is a great time to latch on to this team and to follow along and to see what they're doing and to make certain that you're watching these guys perform every single night because they're doing some pretty impressive things out there on the baseball field. More on Murakami, though. What you see from Mune is you see the power, you see the strikeouts as well, right? See the walks. Again, he's been described as a true 3-outcome player. That's what you're getting from him, right? You're going to see that consistently on display. He's going to strike out plenty. There's no question about that. He's shown that to be the case, but he's also shown that power in his bat. He's definitely shown the potential to hit that ball out of the damn ballpark. And yesterday, the home run that he hit gave him 20 home runs before June 1st. As a major league rookie, he's the only guy to do it. Credit where credit's due, man. Murakami is stepping up. He's taking care of business. And a lot of teams that ignored him, didn't bid on him, didn't do their due diligence, weren't interested, weren't invested, are kicking themselves right now saying, damn, we really could use a guy like that with that much power in his bat in our lineup, helping to drive in runs for us. Because over his last 15 games, 15 hits, 5 home runs, 12 RBIs, 13 walks, 16 strikeouts. You're looking at a 283 average. You're looking at a 433 on base and a 623-ish slug, somewhere in that area. OPS, I mean, let's figure out the OPS on that is somewhere north of 9. So we're talking about a highly productive player. When we get around to July, Mune is going to be in the All-Star game. I don't think there's any question or doubt about that. It's highly expected that he's going to be there. And again, because of his high productivity, because of his marketability to a Japanese audience, Harry and myself mentioned on several shows weeks ago, the possibility of the White Sox trading him, as well as the possibility of the White Sox sitting down and working out a contract extension with him. And I believe Harry and myself, again, he's not here. I'm going to speak for my mans, but we're both in favor of re-signing Mune, giving him a contract extension, doing what you got to do, lock him in, right? Lock him in. Don't take any chances that Mune gets a chance to step his foot out the door, right? Don't do it. Don't allow the Dodgers or the Mets or the Yankees or the Red Sox or anybody to dare think they have a chance, right, to swoop in on Mune and try to offer him a boatload of cash. Don't even do it. Sit down with his people at some point this season. Get him to put pen to paper. Let's get a contract signed for Mune. Let's get an extension. Lock him up right now, right? If it's going to take, 6, 7, 8 years, give him the 6, 7, 8 years, right? Reinsdorf is a cheap SOB though. So somebody, whether it's Chris Getz, somebody, right? Okay. Get Ishbia on the phone. I know he's not the chairman right now. He's a chairman in waiting. Get Ishbia on the phone. You feel me? Get him on the phone. Tell him to come in here and look Jerry in the eye and say, look, if you don't want to give Mune the contract, if you don't want to give Murakami a contract extension right now, I got it. Don't worry. I'm the billionaire in wait. I'm the one who's going to take over this team for you going forward. If you don't want to write the check, I got it. Take it out of my lump sum cash. You feel me? Take it. Here you go. I'll pay the $45-50 million a year or whatever it'll take to keep him here on the south side of Chicago. Because if you let him get out of the door, if you let Jerry have his druthers, Jerry gonna have the man traded, before you know it. You're gonna blink 2 times, wipe the coal out your eye, and all of a sudden say, damn, what happened to Mune? Where did he go? You're gonna look up and see him wearing a Dodgers jersey like everybody else. I'm not calling the man, I'm not saying he going to the Hall of Fame. I'm not calling him Barry Bonds. I'm not calling him none of that. I'm not getting crazy. But the numbers he's putting up right now in today's MLB, he's impressive, right? He's impressive. He's performing at a high level. He's giving you the power that you want in a big bat in your lineup. There's a lot of teams that would absolutely appreciate having a guy who's slugging 600, okay? Who before June 1st has 20 home runs on his jacket. There's a lot of guys there's a lot of teams that would absolutely want to have that. If the White Sox says, yeah, we'll trade you Munetaka Murakami right now, the line is down Lakeshore Drive of teams that are willing to take that on right now. So listen, man, lock him up, okay? Lock him up. Give him the extension, give him the money right now, lock him in, right? I know, again, people will look at his average. His batting average right now is, I think, 240, somewhere in that range. It probably just went up to 240 after the series that he had against Minnesota, because, again, Minnesota couldn't get him out for the most part, right? Even though they might have struck him out a couple times, they damn near walked him as many times as they struck him out. So if you got him on base constantly, you got him hitting home runs out of the park constantly, you struggled with him. Minnesota definitely struggled with him. So listen, get him locked in, okay? Get him locked in. Don't let him get away. Don't let other teams start sniffing around and thinking that they can acquire him at any point or any juncture. Go ahead and lock him in. Keep his bat in the middle of your order. Continue to have him driving in runs for you, because that's what he's been doing this entire season, is driving in runs for you. Appreciate the value that you have in him while you have him, and appreciate the opportunity that you have to market him back to a Japanese audience for his homeland back home. Take advantage of all of those things, right? You see it on the Sox broadcast of where they got, the Japanese signage up there. Like, take advantage of that. Market that when you have it. You have the opportunity to do those things, do those things. There's money-making opportunities and money marketing opportunities there. And the White Sox are good at marketing within the stadium, right? They do great promotions within the stadium. We can talk about other issues that they have, but within the stadium, they do great promotion and great marketing and all of those things. Take advantage of that when you have it and make those things happen. But again, as I mentioned before, you take 3 out of 4 against the Twins. You did what you needed to do. You push them down within the standings. You give yourself a breathing room in second place, right? You're still looking up at Cleveland, still looking up at the Guardians. It is what it is, but there's still more work to do. With baseball, there's always another game on the horizon. There's always the next game to play, and the next game to play for the Chicago White Sox, the Detroit Tigers. To be perfectly honest with you, the way the Detroit Tigers have been struggling this entire season, no one predicted it. They've lost countless pitchers to IR. They've lost, countless players to IR. At this point, they're on the struggle bus, and I don't want them getting right against my team. So sorry to the cousins that we have up there in Detroit, Michigan, but I need y'all to get broomed up this week. Keep it real with you. Need the White Sox to take all 3 of these. Don't even mess around. Okay? Don't mess around whatsoever. When the Tigers come in here, I need you to show them all the hospitality that you can by getting the push brooms ready and sweep them right on up out of here, and don't even make it look pretty. I'm just being real with you. Zip them up, get them up out of here as expeditiously as possible, right? I need all 3 of those games. I'm just going to be honest with you. Give me all 3 of them. Don't play around with it. Don't mess around with it. Sweep them, okay? Sweep them. Just being honest, just being fair with you, right? Having said that, probably won't go that way, right? Probably still won't go that way. The Tigers might mess around and still take 1 out of these 3. But I do expect, regardless, even if it's not a sweep, I do expect that the White Sox will win the series. And ultimately, that's the most important thing, is to make sure that you go out there and you win the series, that you continue to maintain your position in the standings, right? I mentioned previously on previous shows that the entirety of the American League is, to a degree, underperforming, right? The American League is not producing a lot of high quality teams, a lot of teams with winning records, a lot of teams with the overall player performance and team performance that you had expected coming into this year. And the Tigers are a poster child for that. No one expected them to be near the bottom of the standings. No one expected them to be at the bottom of this division, let alone the entirety of baseball. And that's where they currently sit. Again, partially because of injury, partially because of poor performance, partially because they have internal team strife. And all of those things can factor into you having a poor season. We've seen that on the South Side. They're seeing it right now currently in Detroit. So when they come in here, You got to try to take care of business as best you can. Get them on up out of here to maintain that spot that you have in second place in this division. Again, the entirety of the league, the American League, is not where people would have expected it to be at this point in time. And so the White Sox are able to take advantage of that. They're in a spot right now with a winning record when no one expected them to have a winning record at this juncture. Continue to produce at the level that you've been producing at, because the opportunity is there to keep pace 2.5 games behind Cleveland at the moment in time. But you're definitely trailing Cleveland in the standings, and you have not had a chance to really see them yet. That's coming down the road. Take care of the teams that are right in front of you right now. That begins with Detroit starting tomorrow, right? They're coming into town. Handle your business. Beat Detroit when they get here. And then who's next on the schedule after the Detroit Tigers? We are right back to those damn Piranhas again. So White Sox are going to end up, after they take care of business against Detroit, you got to go see Minnesota once more. So quick 3-game set in Minnesota. That's going to be a tough one. You just played them, right? You just finished the series with them today, right? You pitched Davis Martin against them today, right? So, they've seen your best, right? Offensively, you dominated them, right? They've seen your best pitcher. So Minnesota's going to have some things to look at, some things to correct, some things that they're going to point to on film and say, okay, we could be better here, better there, better with strike zone here, better with our defense here and there. And they're going to try to make their adjustments. And so don't expect you're going to automatically beat them the same way in Minnesota that you beat them here. So be prepared for that. I'm still going to go out and predict this one might be a bit of a homerish pick. I'm going to admit it. I'm going to tap into what I would imagine Harry would say right now and predict the White Sox to win the series against Minnesota. I'm going to say after you sweep Detroit, you take 2 out of 3 against Minnesota. Because again, White Sox got things that they did extremely well against Minnesota. Like I mentioned earlier, they couldn't really get Murakami out. You walked him as many times as you struck him out. And home run, home run, home run. He homered in 3 out of the 4 games that you played him. And in the game he didn't get a homer in, he doubled in a run anyway. So Mooney had a fantastic series against the Twins. Montgomery, who had a couple little slumps before this series, had a strong, solid series against the Twins, right? Vargas got some runs in. Chase Mydroff hit a grand slam in yesterday's game against Minnesota. So the White Sox should have confidence against the Twins going into their building. So ride the wave of momentum. If you sweep Detroit like I'm predicting they will, you're on a 5-game winning streak at that point, right? Take that 5-game winning streak into Minnesota, continue to let the good times roll, take 2 out of 3 against the Twins, and then your next road trip, your next series is a 3-game set against the Philadelphia Phillies. That's what this series that I'm predicting the White Sox are going to have a little bit of a step back, a slight letdown. I'm predicting a 1 out of 3 for the White Sox. So I do predict them to lose that series against the Phillies. Again, put a bit of a damper on what's been a solid stretch of games of W's for the White Sox. But the Phillies are, in a lot of respects, similar to the Sox. I mean, I'm pretty sure their records are the exact same at this moment in time. So, once more, you're looking at a team that, in certain respects with the guys that they have, can definitely present problems for you defensively and to your pitchers. Speaking of pitchers, the White Sox called up David Sandlin, who pitched in last night's game and got his first win. Pitched a fairly decent game. Nothing was, it's not like he was dominating or fantastic in that game. His first or second pitch of the game, Byron Buxton, hit it out of the ballpark. So it's not like he was dominant in his performance, but the White Sox gave him so much run support that is easy to begin to settle in and relax and calm down when you look up and, all of a sudden you're up, 8-1, in the 4th inning of your first major league start. And to his own credit, I mean, he even mentioned after Buxton hit the home run, he kind of let himself relax and calm down and say, okay, I got homered off my second pitch. Well, what else can happen at this point? What's the worst that could happen? And, he began to settle in and pitch a pretty solid game for him. So kudos to him. Again, on the pitching standpoint, Noah Schultz has been placed on the 15-day IL for knee tendonitis. So he'll be out for a couple of weeks. Tough, unfortunate. You don't want your young arms to face any sort of injuries. I mean, luckily it's not anything elbow, shoulder related. That's good news for your pitcher, right? Knee tendonitis, knee soreness. Those are issues that I believe he dealt with last season, though. Those cost him a bit of problems and issues within the minors in AAA last year. So hopefully that does not continue to be something that labors him going forward. and that he's able to get, the proper treatment for that and to come back. Furthermore, on the injury front, you have Kyle Teal. We have not seen Kyle Teal all season long, unfortunately. It's been a rough injury-plagued go of it for him. If you think all the way back to before the season began, Kyle Teal got injured in the World Baseball Classic with I think it was a calf strain, right? I think he hurt his calf, and that kept him out. It was supposed to only be 4 to 6 weeks. That injury kept him out longer than 4 to 6 weeks. That ended up being more closer to 8 to 10 weeks. And then he went on his rehab start as he began to, ramp up and get back into the swing of things and the flow of things. And then he tweaked his knee and ended up having an LCL injury, right? So, that cost Kyle Teal. So, that's unfortunate as well. You don't want any of those things to happen, obviously, but now Kyle Teal is going to be out for an additional 2 to 6 weeks. So, or 3 to 6 weeks, excuse me. So, unfortunate, right? You've been expecting his performance and his appearance for this team, and you haven't gotten it yet. Injuries are a part of the game, right? Injuries affect everybody. They affect every team. Again, I mentioned before, they affected the Detroit Tigers. They've affected them the entirety of the season. They've affected the White Sox the entirety of the season. So the White Sox are just going to have to, deal with it. That's a part of sports. Every major league team has to deal with those injuries when they come about. Sox are no different. You got to find that production in other outlets and other players. And the Sox have done that to this point so far. And I expect them to continue to do that, regardless of who's in and out of the lineup. So even though Noah Schultz won't be pitching anytime soon in the next couple of weeks, again, 15-day injured list. So don't expect to see him for the next, 2 to 3 weeks or so. And again, Kyle Till, we haven't seen him all season long. So don't expect to see him anytime soon either. But, it is what it is, right? So, once again, 3-0 versus Detroit, 2-1 versus Minnesota, 1-2 versus the Phillies. So that's a 6-3 record that I'm predicting for the White Sox over their next 9 games coming up in this slate. Still expecting positive things, right? That's still a good stretch. That's still a successful stretch. You're still winning series. You're still stacking up W's. You're still, in an effort to keep pace of where you are in the standings, keep the teams that are behind you. Try to keep pace with the team that's in front of you in your division to when you eventually face them, then you can make it a contest and see who comes out on top, at that stage. Again, quick recap. Want to make sure we touch on the things that we had mentioned in last week's show previously, towards the end of that road trip. The Sox didn't come out with the record that we wanted them to come out with against the Giants. They came home and they did what we expected them to do against Minnesota. And that's what baseball is. There's always another game the very next day. There's always a chance to get right back out there again, get back on the horse, if you will, and give yourself a chance to go out and win the baseball game the very next day. And the White Sox have shown an ability to do that. They've shown a resilience towards doing that. They've shown that they are a fun team. They've shown that they are a competitive team, more competitive than most believe that they would be at this stage. And so gotta give them credit for those things, and as I touched on before, and as Harry and myself touched on, in past shows, right? This is a fun group to watch, right? They are a fun team to sit down, in evening baseball and enjoy because they've shown, like I mentioned, they've shown that resilience. They've shown that ability to fight back in ball games when you think, they might be down and out. They've shown the ability to not quite be as down or as out as you may have thought them to be originally. So, credit and kudos to the White Sox. Big respect to them taking care of business today, winning the series against Minnesota today officially, and get ready for Detroit this weekend. Continue to stack W's, continue to stack wins, and see what happens next week when we come back here. I'm expecting my dog Harry to be back with me on the other side with his jokes. Y'all know how Harry get down. Ever the businessman, ever the hustler, ever the comedian as well. Always looking to break the ice and give us some somewhat R-rated, maybe even X-rated things to discuss at times that could be considered inappropriate, but that's my man's in there. So with that being said, this is your quick edition of White Sox and BS. We out. I'll let y'all next time. Peace. Y'all be smooth.
Appreciate you tapping into this latest episode from the Frustrated Chicago Sports Fan channel. Don't matter if you was watching on YouTube or listening on Spotify or Apple. Make sure you like, subscribe, share with everybody on the block, and hit the notification bell so you never miss none of our daily drops. And to all the guys from the Shy, we say 3 things. Bear down, fly the W, and sell the team, Jerry.